Imagine drafting the exact player who publicly humiliated your franchise superstar on national television. The Indiana Fever just did exactly that, ignoring a desperate need for size to draft Caitlin Clark's ultimate nemesis. But the real reason why will completely shock you. Welcome back to Simply Explained, where we take the most complicated, hidden, and shocking stories in sports and break them down so you get the full picture. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and know what's really happening behind the scenes of your favorite teams before the mainstream media catches on, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We dive deep into the rumors, the financial nightmares, and the locker room drama that front offices try to keep buried. Drop a like on this video if you are ready to uncover the truth about the Indiana Fever's master plan, and let me know in the comments if you think they are building a dynasty or completely destroying their championship window. Let's get straight into it. When the Indiana Fever were put on the clock with the 10th overall pick, the entire basketball world expected them to draft size. The team was already severely undersized, struggling defensively in the paint, and desperately needed a towering presence to back up Aliyah Boston. Instead, they completely blew up the internet by selecting Raven Johnson, a 5'9" guard whose offensive game is still a massive work in progress. The fan backlash was immediate and absolutely brutal. Social media timelines were flooded with confused and angry reactions, accusing the front office of completely losing the plot. They had just signed a backup point guard in free agency, and obviously they have Caitlin Clark locked in as the untouchable starter. Drafting another undersized guard seemed like a catastrophic error for a team supposedly built to win a championship right now. But what everyone screaming on the internet missed was the hidden strategy playing out in the shadows. The Fever weren't drafting for the current season. They were terrified of what was coming in the near future. This pick wasn't a mistake. It was a highly calculated insurance policy, driven by a dark financial reality that threatens to tear the entire roster apart. And the first signs of that financial apocalypse had already started to leak out, perfectly timed with a shocking departure that left fans completely stunned. The front office knew they had to act fast, ignoring the loud criticism to protect the franchise's long-term survival against an invisible enemy. To truly understand the psychological warfare of this draft pick, you have to rewind to the 2024 NCAA championship game. When South Carolina faced off against Iowa, Raven Johnson didn't just guard Caitlin Clark, she put the greatest offensive weapon in college basketball in absolute jail. She suffocated Caitlin, holding her to an agonizing 5 for 20 shooting performance. Clark couldn't get an inch of separation. Her rhythm was completely destroyed, and she couldn't operate in her usual space. Raven executed this defensive masterclass without fouling, without losing her cool, and without taking the bait when Caitlin tried to force mistakes. It was the ultimate humiliation on the biggest stage. Now, the Fever have deliberately brought Caitlin's worst nightmare right into her own locker room. The psychological dynamics of making these two fierce rivals teammates are incredibly fascinating. But the Fever's front office is betting that the exact same relentless tenacity that made Raven a nightmare for opponents will now become the ultimate shield for Caitlin. They want Raven coming off the bench to lock down the league's most dangerous guards, giving Caitlin a chance to rest without the team's defense completely collapsing. It is a brilliant concept, turning your greatest obstacle into your greatest weapon. But bringing in a defensive specialist with a history of locking down your superstar isn't the only locker room dynamic the Fever are desperately trying to manage right now. The front office knows that chemistry is fragile, and this massive gamble relies entirely on these two former rivals putting their intense history aside to win. While the internet agonized over the draft, a massive piece of insider news quietly shifted the balance of the league. Tammy Fagbenle, a highly valuable rotational piece for the Fever last season, completely shocked everyone by signing a staggering $1 million contract with the Toronto expansion team. $1 million for a player who averaged just over 6 points a game. At first glance, it just looked like Toronto throwing ridiculous expansion money at anyone with experience. but rumors suggest a much deeper, hidden conflict. Reports claim there were persistent communication issues behind the scenes in the Indiana locker room. Whispers around the league indicate that Tammy's incredibly blunt, direct style of talking to teammates and coaches started rubbing key people the entirely wrong way. It's been said that these internal, unverified clashes were the real reason the Fever quietly left her unprotected in the expansion draft, allowing her to walk away without a fight. Indiana prioritized team chemistry over keeping a useful veteran, but watching her instantly secure a massive payday highlighted a terrifying new era in the league. Expansion teams are absolutely desperate to be competitive immediately, and they are willing to overpay drastically to steal talent. Established teams are now bleeding crucial role players because they simply cannot compete with these massive bags of cash. And for Indiana, this financial squeeze is about to get exponentially worse. They are losing veteran presence right when they need it most, forced to navigate a completely broken market where average statistics suddenly demand superstar money. The real reason the Fever are making these bizarre roster moves is a brand new, terrifying rule buried in the collective bargaining agreement known as the Epic Provision. This rule completely destroys salary cap flexibility by mandating automatic supermax contracts for players who make all WNBA teams. Both Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston achieved that elite status last season. While Caitlin wasn't eligible for this provision immediately, she absolutely will be next year. That means the front office is staring straight down the barrel of a $1.19 million max salary for Caitlin on top of Aliyah's max money. The Fever are trapped in a total salary cap nightmare. They physically do not know if they will have the money to keep their current roster intact once those massive contracts hit the books. That is exactly why they are currently loading up on one-year, prove-it deals with veterans like Kelsey Mitchell. They are desperately trying to win right now, while financially bracing for impact. This is the exact reason Raven Johnson was drafted. A rookie contract is incredibly cheap. If Kelsey Mitchell walks next year, because the Fever simply cannot afford to match outside offers, they desperately need inexpensive talent ready to step up and fill the void. Raven is a low-cost insurance policy against a devastating financial reality that the team cannot escape. But relying on an unproven rookie to save your future is incredibly dangerous. The front office is essentially praying that this cheap talent can develop fast enough to patch the massive financial holes that are guaranteed to open up very soon. Here is the glaring, undeniable flaw in Indiana's supposed master plan. Raven Johnson averaged a shockingly low 3.7 points per game during her senior year. Her offensive role was basically to stand in the corner, play suffocating defense, and avoid turning the ball over. She is not a shot creator, she is not a pick-and-roll threat, and she cannot carry an offense for even short stretches. In today's high-scoring league, you cannot survive if you are a total liability on offense, no matter how elite your defense might be. So, why take this massive risk? Indiana is betting absolutely everything on the Caitlin Clark effect. We watched this exact phenomenon happen with Lexi Hull. When Lexi shared the court with Caitlin, her three-point shooting miraculously skyrocketed to an elite 38%. Caitlin's unbelievable gravity as a playmaker pulls defenders away, creating massive, wide-open spaces that magically transform average shooters into lethal weapons. The Fever's brain trust believes that if Raven can just stand in the corner and hit the open shots that Caitlin inevitably creates, her elite defensive skills will make her an invaluable, cheap asset. They are desperately trying to manufacture a 3 and D star out of a pure defensive specialist. They are hoping Caitlin can unlock an offensive potential in Raven that no one else has ever been able to find. It is a massive roll of the dice, completely relying on their superstar to fix their rookie's glaring flaws while simultaneously trying to carry the team to a championship run. This entire chaotic situation places a crushing, almost unbelievable amount of pressure directly onto the shoulders of head coach Stephanie White. She is essentially walking a tightrope over an active volcano. On one hand, she has to manage a locker room full of veterans playing on one-year contracts, all fighting desperately for their future paydays and demanding minutes. She has Aliyah Boston fighting to prove she is fully healthy and ready to dominate the paint again. Add to that the overwhelming, completely unyielding expectations on Caitlin Clark to take an even bigger leap and deliver a title in her second year. Now, White has to somehow figure out how to integrate Raven Johnson, patiently develop her non-existent offensive game, and build for the terrifying financial future, all without sacrificing a single win today. If Indiana takes even a slight step backward this season, because they failed to address their glaring lack of size in the draft, the criticism from fans and the media will be absolutely nuclear. It is a near impossible balancing act of managing massive egos, tight rotations, and insanely high expectations. White has to scheme ways to hide her rookies' weaknesses while keeping her veterans happy and productive. If she fails, the championship window could slam shut before it even truly opens. But if she manages to navigate this chaotic storm perfectly, the ultimate payoff could be historic. She is tasked with turning a severely undersized, financially stressed, and heavily scrutinized roster into a cohesive dynasty, and every single decision she makes this season will be heavily judged. The Indiana Fever have pushed all their chips into the center of the table, making one of the most fascinating and terrifying gambles in recent basketball history. They are betting that playing alongside a generational talent cures all fundamental flaws, and that elite, obsessive defensive willpower can bridge the massive gap between college success and professional stardom. It is a brilliant but risky strategy that leaves absolutely zero room for error. In a league where expansion franchises are throwing around million-dollar bags and salary caps are crushing established teams, the Fever are playing a dangerous long game while their championship window is wide open right now. Whether this controversial defensive specialist becomes the missing piece to a dynasty or the draft pick that ultimately derailed a title run is the story that will define this franchise. Stay tuned, because this season is going to be wildly unpredictable. Stay locked with my channel Simply Explained for more updates.